Hello there, and welcome to Doctor Who Radio Show. That's the way it goes in Iron, and with me are...
I'm Jimmy Porto.
I'm Ramona.
And this is basically a video that came to me from, strange enough, what Rory Kinnear, the so-called, well at the moment at least, top bloke to take over the role of the Doctor in Doctor Who. Now, he's quite literally been quoted again and again as being approached by the BBC, and apparently from what I've read in the last 24 hours he's become rather angry and annoyed by it, almost to the point that he feels like he's been sort of harassed. But you know more about Rory Kinnear and his father, Rory Kinnear, of course.
Yep, according to the Daily Telegraph, the 35-year-old actor Rory Kinnear is wanted for the part, and the BBC have offered him the opportunity to become the 12th Doctor when Matt Smith departs the TARDIS at the end of the year. A source told the publication, quote, "He has been offered the part and we are waiting to hear if he will accept. He is the perfect choice." So showrunner Stephen Moffat and the BBC want to move quickly to cast the next Doctor because shooting on the next series of the sci-fi show is due to start in just a few months ahead of its return to screens next March. Rory is probably best known for his role as MI6 officer Bill Tanner in James Bond films Skyfall and Quantum of Solace. He is the son of Rory Kinnear, who died September 1988 from a heart attack after falling from a horse during the making of the Return of the Musketeers in Toledo, Spain. His mother's Carmel Cryan, and she's famous for portraying Brenda Boyle in EastEnders. The BBC will not confirm nor deny offering the role. They just a very talented actor. And that was 6 hours ago.
Rory Kinnear said something rather interesting, that he felt he was being used as a decoy by the BBC for the real persons who have or will be, chosen. It just seems a bit strange how they seem to be so obsessed with this guy. He's from Downtown Abbey as well. He appears in that, which is quite successful in America apparently. But he doesn't look to me like Doctor material. Just, I don't know, a bit too sort of bold and fat, to be terribly honest.
He's fat? He doesn't look fat in any of the pictures I see of him.
Yeah. I think he looks okay.
Well,
I think he looks alright. He looks, I mean, to me the Doctor's never been a woman. It's supposed to be good looking. That's only been very recently that's become the criteria. So being bald and that makes no odds to me. As long as he can act, I've got the problem with him.
it just seems odd to me, Monk and Romana, that they should be putting all their eggs into one basket about Rory Kinnear, almost like someone knows something that everyone doesn't.
Maybe.
There's an article at bleedingcool.com which says Rory Kinnear is sick of these Doctor Who rumors.
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah. He's sort of got, seriously, like you said, Monk, sick of it to the point, yeah. So he's
reported by a friend of his. A friend of his named Liz Buckley posted on Twitter everything in the papers about Rory Kinnear being asked to be the Doctor's 100% bullocks, just so you know. He's a bit sick of it.
Well, also,
it's a casting PR smokescreen while the show auditions, according to her. Not according to him, but according to his friend.
Ah. Now, this isn't someone who works for the BBC, presumably.
Yeah, but you see, the question I have with that is, okay, if it's not true, why pick his random name? He seems a bit too of a good candidate to just be a random name out of a hat. So he sounds good on paper. So,
it just gave me the impression, they know something, or maybe they're just maybe they're just obsessed with the idea of someone so popular. But as Matrix and many others have pointed out, really, if you think about it, based on the last several Doctors we've had Doctors who were reasonably well known, but not as well known as, Kinnear is. Although you could argue he's not exactly that well known either. He's not a household big name. Yes.
Well, but to be honest, I never thought he would, the next Doctor would be, because you can't pay him an absolute fortune to be the Doctor. So you need a name that's sort of known, so that you know he can act, but he's not too known, so you don't have to give him a big fat paycheck.
I just thought his comment that he considered himself to be used as a decoy was rather a good point. Like he's sort of aware that they're purposely allowing the newspapers with all sorts of names, including his, to be bounded around, so that any idea of who the real ones who's been asked or will be asked will be completely overlooked by newspapers, and also the fans on the internet message boards and all that sort of thing. Which of the names? Which of the names have you heard? Do you think is very likely? The ones that you've read so far.
Well, for me, none of the names stick out, because all the names that have come out about I think I've had 5 really big ones that they've took seriously, and 4 of them I've never heard of. And the one name I like, which is Idris Elba, which I don't think nobody else apart from me is taking seriously, but I really like him because I've seen him and stuff and he's good. But apart from all the rest of them, I've not heard of them, and I keep hearing that they've all sort of dropped out. So I don't know, maybe people are just saying they've dropped out so we stop thinking about them, but I don't know. I'm still in for a name that I slightly recognise off of something,
I did see a picture of Daniel Craig, apparently, as the Doctor, standing in front of the bloody TARDIS. All these pictures of so-called actors who is guaranteed to be the next Doctor, all standing, superimposed or whatever, in front of the TARDIS. Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith have all done proper Shakespeare and been on stage, and they were relatively unknown back then. So, is it possible that the actor we have, regardless of which colour they are, could be someone who, although has had tons of experience on stage, might have very small exposure?
Rory Kinnear has stage experience on stage.
Yeah. It could be someone completely unknown that nobody knows. And I'll just come out and everybody will be like, who? I mean, everybody. And that's why maybe that's why it's a decoy, because I think if we put out a name, they'll sort of all quiet down so that we can get this unknown guy kind of put past them, maybe.
But why don't they want us to know who it is? What's the point of keeping it secret?
Maybe the identity of the Doctor might actually have too much connection with the plot line of the 50th anniversary and obviously the 12th night.
Then again, I still keep thinking that the 50th anniversary will be called the 12 Doctors.
Do you think it's possible that which one do you think is more likely? A actor who will be younger than Matt Smith is right now, or an actor a good 10-12 years older?
I think he'd be older, but he might only be 5 years older.
I hope he's older, just because if you go any younger, it'll be a bit too young. The more I keep thinking about it, the more I think if you go too far down, you just, it becomes to get too unbelievable. Whereas you either have two options. But to me, you either go up or go to the same age that Matt was when he first started, but no younger, because then that just gets too young.
Well, Matt Smith was about 26 years old. He's now 30. Do you think it's possible we might actually have an actor who will be one or several years younger than him?
That 35-year-old he passed. Somewhere around 35 or older.
I believe it was Sean Connery, in reference to James Bond, who said he thought the perfect age for James Bond was about 35 or something. And he said this when Roger Moore was still doing James Bond films. I think it was around the time of Octopussy or View to a Kill, and by that point he was in his 60s nearly, or was in his 60s, hence the reason why Sean Connery made that comment. What age do you think, both of you, is the best sort of age to play the Doctor, in terms of being convincing and having the right gravitas, experience, etc. for the role?
Say about 40, 45.
Yeah, I'd say about 30 to 40. Right about there, maybe 30, 31. Right about there. Sort of youngish, but also not too far as well. That'd be the perfect age.
45? How come 45?
I figured person would bring life experiences to the role. Not so much theatrical experiences, but life experiences. Because he's supposed to be playing a guy that's 1,000+ years old.
Good point. You got to sort of like method acting. If he's had tons of experience of battling enemies,
knows what it's like to look for work, raise a family, pay bills, rather than someone who just walked off the stage and got a role in Doctor Who.
Has been said that most actors, especially in the classic series, particularly the first four, have a lot of experience. Both Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee were serving in the Second World War. Tom Baker at one point was thinking of entering the church, become a monk, which he did, but just like Sylvester McCoy, oddly enough, he decided it wasn't for him. With William Hartnell, he had a bit of a unpleasant past, which basically made him the grumpy sod he could be in real life. But not so much with Peter Davison, curiously enough. So we can basically scratch Rory Kinnear off as just tabloid wish thinking.
Something to put in the papers, I guess, because I have no news to report.
So you think they could be possibly creating a story where there wasn't one?
Wish fulfillment. Except that they say the bookies in England have stopped taking bets. They're so sure it's Rory Kinnear that they've stopped taking bets.
Well, like I said before, he's from Downton Abbey, but I've never bothered watching it because, to tell you, I think it's shit.
No, I've never seen it either.
I haven't watched it either, though it's become a hit in this country too. I haven't watched it.
As I've said before, I think it's really a case of whoever the Doctor is, it has to be someone who is going to want, obviously, to play the Doctor, someone who will fit the role, someone willing to do 9 months of filming, and also hopefully not someone who just treat it as a stepping stone to something bigger. Because Aspergen Star 2009 did say that he thought Matt Smith would, as soon as he became famous enough and wanting to do films in Hollywood, etc., would decide to leave, which is what he did precisely.
Yep.
Although to be fair, it's not like he did that straight away, but
no, that's it. He gave it a good 3 years. It was not like he went in after a year or after a couple months. He gave it a good 3 years. But Gillian has been cast in a major motion picture. I've already seen the trailers on YouTube. Some romantic comedy. And that's big money. She can make it. He probably figures he can make it.
I believe she's appearing in the Guardians of the Universe. I think that's what it's called.
That's another one she's going to be in.
Yeah. It's also starring Batista from WWE. Oddly enough. Does seem interesting though that David Tennant was popular, very popular as the Doctor, but from what I've watched on television, particularly the audience reaction and what the BBC themselves have said, he actually made it really popular in America. I mean, big time. That's when it actually broke America, which is interesting because several of his stories were actually set in America. New York, the dusty roads, the start of season 6, that sort of thing. And at the same time, they were talking about a remake of Doctor Who for the US market.
Really? That'd be weird.
I believe they made Red Dwarf for the US market as well, didn't they, Mug?
They tried. They had 2 different pilots, but it didn't work. I hope they don't mess with Doctor Who for the US market. If they do, it won't work. It'll fail.
Yeah.
Not another happy ending is Karen Gillian comedy, romantic comedy that's coming out.
I'm surprised. I would have thought
she plays a writer. Writer's block.
Is she the star of the film or a supporting character?
She's the star of the film.
Good.
And they want her to come. She has a book due, and she's having problems writing the book. And they realize that they have to make her unhappy. She can't write when she's happy, so they come up with ways to make her miserable so that she can write her book. It's called Not Another Happy Ending. The trailers are on YouTube.
Wow. There's definitely a complete departure from Doctor Who.
Yep.
David Tennant's era was when it got the US's attention. Matt Smith's era was when it finally broke the US, and as you just said, seems like the cast from Matt Smith's main companions are breaking on through, so to speak.
Yep. And she can do it, and she was just a companion. Well, he's the star. Hopefully he can do it. Has a movie coming out.
Alex Kingston did say in an interview that it was a good idea for Matt Smith to leave because otherwise he would have been typecast. But do you believe that's true, or do you think he has become typecast already? Breaking America?
I don't know. I guess it depends on what kind of character he plays in this movie that's going to be coming out.
Yeah, well, see, by the looks of his character, the guy looks nothing like the Doctor or even sci-fi-ish. He looks like some sort of drug dealer to me. So I don't think it will be like Doctor, unless it is, and it just the guy looks strange. But I don't know. I think it's very hard to get typecast nowadays because there is so many things out there kind of do in TV and film that if you really went quiet and looked around, I think you could find a lot of different things to act in.
David Tennant was in a movie, was it a remake of Fright Night, but it failed at the box office.
Ah, yeah, that was with Colin Farrell, I believe, and he played. It's a sort of revamp of the original. In the original, it's a horror, Hammer horror type actor, but in this one, it was more like a David Copperfield type character.
Oh, I didn't see David Tennant's one, so I just know it was a box office failure. In fact, I don't know if David Tennant has he had any success since leaving Doctor Who? I know he did Hamlet, but is he on TV right now?
Yeah, well, the TV show got good ratings, and it did get picked up for a second series broadcast. So I don't know how they're going to manage that, but it ended. But it did get picked up for a new series. But for me, David Tennant seems to have been very quiet recently. He seems to be in a lot of things, but nothing too big. So I don't know if it's deliberate, or maybe I've just not seen any of the big stuff he's done, but he seems to be kind of under the radar a wee bit.
Yes, I believe he auditioned for a pilot in the US around the time he was about to leave.
Yep. And it wasn't bought.
Yeah. And
I forget what it was about, but I remember it wasn't bought.
A lawyer or something like that, I believe.
He was planning on moving to... Yeah. He was planning on moving to the United States because of this TV series. He was going to play a lawyer in it.
So you would have been doing the same with...
something. I can't remember. Whatever it was, they passed up on the TV series.
He would have been doing the same thing in a sense. He would have been living there and filming it, just like he did with, Cardiff. What he's done in the UK since leaving Doctor Who is some movies. And also Broadchurch. That's the big success. That's been a huge success. And he's also done Shakespeare. He's appeared with
Patrick Stewart.
Has he? Really?
I think so.
Oh. Cool. And Catherine Tate also in Shakespeare. But like Romana said, he's sort of been successful, but not aspherically. So he's been just a tad bit more successful in the UK than the US. But unlike Matt Smith, it would seem that he has essentially suffered from the Shatner syndrome, as I call it. Becoming stereotyped. Because he's got a lot of American girly fans, I mean, seriously, they adore him. In certain secret moments. To the angle of their boyfriend.
That's why I was hoping his show would take off, because he has the fan base, the guaranteed fan base in this country. But his show was never bought.
It's all about audience, though. Some people might not in the US have watched him that much. Like I said before, it got awareness more than just sort of a cult thing with his Doctor, but with Matt Smith it's actually become a big proper major player, hence the movies sort of posters that they've had recently. But I think in a way it could have been, William Shatner did plenty of TV and stage work before Captain Kirk. Afterwards he basically got stereotyped to the point that he was having to do public broadcast announcements and stuff.
Same thing with Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, definitely.
Although Leonard Nimoy was able a couple years later to get a role on Mission Impossible for a year.
Ah, yeah, that's true.
He played a magician named Paris. But he was getting stereotypical roles. Or something that was like he was the host of In Search Of, because they needed a Leonard Nimoy type narrator, and he became the host. That ran for a couple of years. Which he wouldn't have had he not played Spock, probably. They wanted a Leonard Nimoy type.
I believe the same thing happened to the man who played Batman in the 60s.
Oh yeah, Adam West.
Nobody would accept him at all for anything else.
couldn't get a job to save his life.
Oh, crap.
Then there was a TV show over here called Remington Steele, starred Pierce Brosnan. Tom Baker was the bad guy in one of the episodes.
Really?
Yeah, that was in the 80s, Remington Steele. Tom Baker was played a bad guy in one of it. In one of the episodes, he was actually playing a villain.
Yeah. What?
Awesome.
What character did he play then? A mafia boss or something? Mafia boss.
No, he was some sort of like jewel thief or something.
Well, oddly enough, Remington Steele, of course, was around the time that Pierce Brosnan was in line to take over Roger Moore.
Yep. Originally, they wouldn't let him out of his contract. And then eventually they did.
Ah. Blimey. Remington Steele, though, he plays a character very similar, like a sort of clumsy, inept version of James Bond, bizarrely. And even he, after, being James Bond, after the big sort of party of being the big hero, whether it's Doctor Who, Star Trek or James Bond, you either don't need the money or you simply don't get offered the roles. Which, to some actors, can be absolutely soul destroying. Yeah.
Remington Steele ran from October 82 to April 1987. In season 2, there was an episode called Hounded Steel, and it starred Tom Baker as the villain.
Blimey. Now that's interesting. The one thing that sort of concerns me, David Tennant doesn't have this difficulty because he can convincingly do a British accent, English accent, even though he is actually Scottish. He got a very Scottish accent. Right. But Matt Smith is the typical sort of posh character, a posh English accent. I just have this fear that, like Jeremy Irons always playing posh villains or something like that, or some butler rubbish. When John Cleese went to America properly, one of the first roles he did, he appeared in Cheers as a psychiatrist, I believe.
Yes.
But he also had to do all these stupid sort of later on butler type roles, Oh, Gordon. Because Americans still have a stereotype that we're all just sort of posh or Mancunian or Liverpoolian, You do, don't you? Don't we do? That sort of Beatles,
Our Scotsmen are from Glasgow, and we all wear kilts, and
like golf.
But also, every fake Scottish accent is always Glaswegian. Nobody ever, tries to emulate any other part of Scotland. Always makes me laugh.
Blimey. So we know that Rory Kinnear presumably isn't going to be Doctor Who, and he'd be going from being a posh character to a posh character if he did, I guarantee you. And that's the point, isn't it? We've already had a sort of posh, very traditional English Doctor, so the next Doctor logically would have to be a complete contrast, really.
Did any of the companions ever go on to hit movies after leaving Doctor Who? Because it looks like Karen Gillian's on her way. Well, Karen Gillian has a movie coming out, Not Another Happy Ending. She's going to be the villain in a superhero movie. She's going to be in a comedy TV series in America. Did any of the other companions, after leaving Doctor Who, make it big in the movies?
Good question, actually. Let's think. You mean from the entire series or recently?
Yeah, from the entire series, classic, as well as present.
Let's think. Well,
the one who plays Donna, she's still making TV shows. In fact, she's in the United States, appearing regularly in The Office. So I guess she's all right.
Well, she originally appeared in one episode or so, but she couldn't commit because she was having to do stage plays. But then she became a recurring character. John Barrowman has appeared in Desperate Housewives and Arrows. Mickey, the actor who played Mickey, is a director. He's directed British films.
He was in the last Star Trek film.
Oh, was he? Oh, of course, yeah. He was an engineer.
Yeah,
or something. Don't tell me what happened because I haven't seen that yet. But he's supposed to be like a disciple of who it is actually, Noonan Khan. That's the one who's in. It is actually the one from Space Seed. Because it's all a parallel universe. It's been altered in the original, reboot movies, so time has flowed differently. Oh dear, dear. Any other companions who've been successful? I'm quite sure some of the classic series people have, but I'll be terribly honest, I can't. Oh, Colin Baker was in an episode of the Young Indiana Jones stories.
Really?
Adventures, or whatever they're called. An episode from the First World War, he was playing a general or something like that. Cobblers. Peter Davison was in a film version of Black Beauty. Sylvester McCoy, of course, has been in The Hobbit.
He's in The Hobbit. Of course, Peter Davison was playing a doctor before he played the Doctor.
Yeah. John Pertwee, if I'm not mistaken, was actually in Bedknobs and Broomsticks or some Disney film, I believe.
Wow.
And no jokes about knobs or broomsticks. Yeah.
Do you know that Peter Jackson originally offered the role of Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings to Tom Baker, and he turned it down?
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. He was actually up for the role of Gandalf, yeah.
Any Doctor Who would.
No stereotyping there though, because they're very similar, wise characters. See, like I said, they get roles which aren't either similar or have similar characteristics. So basically, if you don't want your career to go down the toilet, don't get involved in sci-fi or fantasy.
That's true.
I mean, the conventions, Doctor Who, Cult conventions, Star Trek, every single person who's ever appeared in these shows, you can see basically making a mint out of convention circuits and all sorts. And for some of them, it's almost a bit sad because some of them are doing it simply for extra money and they have a really good career. But some of them are just not getting work anymore. They're just trading on something that happened 40 years ago. Mon Dieu. One actor who I believe might be a good contender is the actor who plays Loki in Thor and the Avengers Assemble.
Oh yeah.
He was also with Bumjaback Cumberbatch or whatever his name is, who appeared in Star Trek 2 Into Darkness. He appeared with him in Warhorse. I can't remember the guy's name though.
The actor's name I don't know.
Tom Hiddleston, I think that's how you say it. Might have butchered his last but isn't he a bit famous?
Well, he's reasonably famous. He's already a part of sci-fi circle because they will know him as Loki. But I just wonder if he might possibly be a contender for the Doctor, because he is British and he does have a sort of doctorish quality. I'm going to put So I believe you have some news about a comment that Helen Mirren, the British actress, made about Doctor Who and the Next Doctor.
I have a comment about it. No, just that she made it. She said that thinks it's about time. It's about time they have a woman doctor, but she didn't see herself as playing it.
I think it's fair to say that every single actor who ever lived has probably been suggested. Oh.
Well, she's the only one who thinks it's a good idea.
It would be a possibility that the next Doctor's casting could sink the show, which has happened sort of in the past, although not really the actor's fault, i.e. Colin Baker's.
Right.
More of a case of scripts. Now, without being sexist or racist, do you think that casting a black actor or a woman could technically be the worst mistake ever?
A woman, probably at this time. Black actor, no. But unless it was a black woman.
Can't win though.
Same here. Women, no. Black actor, why not? But no, women never do it. People keep saying that, never. It doesn't make sense. He's always been a man. He is a man. No other show would change the sex of their character. I don't see why Doctor Who has it. To me, it makes no story sense why he needs to be a woman.
The companion's always been a female, really, so perhaps it would be a bit too weird narrative-wise or something.
They did have Jamie and Adric and Turlo, but most of the time it was a woman.
Yeah.
It started out as a grandfather and his granddaughter. He's a grandfather.
It does seem to fit the series best, really. That sort of, either the Doctor, a female companion, and a male companion, but it's usually, on average, being just a male Doctor and a female bit of, totty. Yeah.
See, when he regenerated, his personality may have changed, or a different aspect of the personality, but he was still the same person. He regenerates into a woman, he's no longer the same person. Then it's no longer about Doctor Who, it's about a different character altogether. Not the same character.
Moogly. So basically everyone would happily have a male, white, black, Asian actor.
I don't care if it's black or Hispanic or Japanese or but it has to be male.
The only snag is though, the Doctor is technically supposed to be able to regenerate into any form he wants to, in theory, unless he's not, a Time Lord isn't in control of it. Romana's regeneration, was changing. It was the same regeneration, I think, but that whole business of within the first 12 hours of the regeneration cycle you can change it as much as you want or whatever. But I don't know, and the interesting thing is even female Doctor Who fans don't think it would be a good idea, so perhaps it's not really about sex or gender, but more about sort of the experience of the series would be totally different. Whereas with a black actor it makes more sense because you can imagine it being possible, particularly with the introduction of some proper black companions in the last couple of years who were absolutely brilliant. Martha and Mickey, really good characters. Anyway, that's all the time we have for on Doctor Who radio show. That's the way it goes, and these two good friends of mine have been
Jimmy Porto
and Romana.
And thank you for both of you for joining me, and also you, the viewers. So, here's hoping it won't be a woman, but who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? Well, Moffat knows. Until next time, keep hearing.